system abbreviation, it has to be exact word for word with this for me to find it. I mean, or it could be ends with, it could end with the letter A, and that could be your search parameter. Begins with A, contains, like usually when I use, and really in this class, we only concern ourselves with equals, but you can do everything in here. Like they all have a purpose for them to be, like for example, contains. When I get a project, a lot of the people do hangers, right? And so I'll just do family. We'll have somewhere in there the word first. As we create those, what drops down? The 3 that we've already created, right? So we're doing hot water. We're just gonna click on hot water and hit OK, right? And when you hit OK, it backs you out. It's there, it's created. We just have to add it. So come back to the main menu. We're gonna hit add. If you notice, now we add that new filter has been populated, okay? Hit view domestic hot water, we'll hit OK. Now that is in my filters for this view. So filters are view by view. So everything that's in your visibility graphics is for what view you're looking in. So let's say you have two views that look the same on your floor plan that read the same thing. Your visibility graphics are different on each, and your filters are part of your visibility graphics. So now if I go back to new/edit, I have to create one for cold water and my hot water circulation line. So what I do now that I've created one is I just duplicate it. Right? I duplicate it, and I just come in here, and all I do is I just change the name. So I'll come in here, I'll change the name to hot water REC for my recirculation line, and I'll do my cold water. Okay. Once those are changed, now what I can do is all I need to do is change my last menu in my filters. So now for my cold water, I want it to read for cold water. Okay, I'll hit apply. I'll come down to hot water recirc, and I'll change my last drop down to hot water recirc because I want that to be my searchable thing for hot water recirc. Now, one thing that I notice people get tripped up on the most with this assignment or with the final is they'll duplicate their filters, but they won't go in and change what the filter wants to look for. So technically, you could have one that reads cold water, but it's still searching for my hot water. You'll turn your cold water off, but you'll turn your hot water off instead. If that makes sense. So this is one thing that kind of trips people up. Once we have it already, we'll hit OK, and we'll just add the other 2. OK and OK. Okay, got all 3 added. Really, now we want to add color to associate them with. The reason why we do this is it's, like I said, easier to identify what you're working with drawing-wise than having to click on the property and see where you're going. So in hot water, we want to change a couple of these projections/surfaces, and all this is going to do is change the color. So if you click on it, go to lines, you're going to have this little menu that's called override. Hit that override button, and in here, it drops up the lines graphics. It's going to give you lines, patterns, color, and weight. Now weight, or we should start with pattern. I never changed the override pattern because all that's going to do is change the pattern of the line. So have any of you guys taken an actual drafting class? No? So there's different line types, right? You have this line, which is like long line, dash, long line. Like there's different types of lines that mean different things. And that's where the line pattern would come into play. We don't deal with that at all. We just want to see a solid surface. So we just keep it as no override. But the color we do want to change. And I'm in hot water. I always do my hot water is red, right? My cold water is blue. And then usually my hot water is circulating because it's still hot water. We actually do this kind of pink color up here in the top left-hand corner for our circulation. So hit OK. Now we're switching to red, and then weight just changes your line thickness when you print it. So when I print it, it's going to be super thick or super thin. All of this changes. And usually we only change that when like you send the drawing out and they say, hey, I can't see these lines. Okay, we'll make them thicker for you. But usually I keep them as no override. We'll hit OK. And then now all of a sudden you can see in my lines category, it shows a red line. Okay. We'll go cold water. We'll do the same thing. Override, just change our color. We're just going to change our color to blue. Okay. Okay. And UV domestic hot water circ, we're going to change color. And like I said, that top left hand kind of pinkish red color. Okay. We'll hit OK and we'll hit OK. Now I've got all 3 of them checked in the visibility column. They're all checked. If they're checked, that means you can see them. If they're checked, it'll turn off. Okay. Go ahead and hit OK. And if we did this right, which I'm crossing my fingers we did, which I did, hopefully you guys did too, you should see 3 pipes change colors, right? So now that's a good indication that your filters are working. Now, if your pipe didn't change color, it stays white, either you didn't associate a color to it or you didn't do a filter right, or if they all changed to one solid color like red, 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 it's just you did your piping either system, you don't have all 3 systems shown, or you messed something up a little bit further back, which you can fix, not being shown in one section or one floor plan. But when you go to do your shop drawing, you don't need to wait until next final. So this is kind of one of the more like right here. Now I have my system segments and fittings, right? So now our routing preference properties go in here and there, not just drawing type, is more technical. But now we need to do a couple more things, and then we can be done. If I click on my pipe, and we have to do this for all 3, okay? It's going to give me UV domestic hot water. I'm going to hit edit type right here. Now I have my system segments and fittings, right? So now our routing preferences, if I hit edit on that routing preference, the new menu is going to pop up. Okay, and in this routing preference, this is going to tell me, okay, first of all, pipe segment, what kind of pipe am I going to use for this? Okay, it's calling out as a steel carbon schedule 40 pipe. I want to change that. So usually you can hit this drop down and you can change it to whatever we have loaded in the project. Okay, we're going to do this first one, just copper-K. We're going to change it to that for this specific system we're going to be using. We're going to do copper-K. Change that. And now, if you notice, it changes my maximum size. So my minimum size used to be at a ½ inch to 24 inches. This copper-K, they don't make a 24-inch diameter copper pipe. What it's saying here is the highest I'm going to allow you to go is 12 inches. Okay, so if you're reading the plans and you have a 20-inch pipe, it's probably not copper. But the plans will tell you in the specs what it's going to be. Now, elbow, we want to basically assign it when I create. So you guys have all created like a home model in Revit, right? Yeah. So when you're drawing a wall, those of you online, you might not be able to see this. I don't know if the camera is being recorded or not, but I don't know if you guys can see it anyways. But when you're drawing a wall in Revit, you kind of just draw it like that, right? Like a 90 degree, and it kind of automatically turns the wall with it. Is that correct? Right? When you're drawing piping, it doesn't do that. You have to associate when you create that turn. So if I come in here and try to draw a pipe straight down, technically that piece doesn't exist, but it's going to give me an error every time I do that. North and south, I can't create. Same with the T, same with the junction, everything. What does it say? None, and there's no categories for me to choose from. And that's because right now our computers aren't, there's no file on our computers. They're located in this section of Revit for me to choose from. So what we do is we got to go to load family. And then usually it will pop you up to what's called your imperial database, right? Or your imperial library, okay? Your guys' should look something like this instead. Does that look right? Okay, if this ever doesn't show up, that's US Imperial, usually on the side right here, it will have your Imperial library on the left-hand side is like a quick key. If not, shoot me a message. I can send you the file path. It's basically, it's like buried in your computer somewhere, but we can find it for you. But in here, these are all the families that Revit has preloaded in them, okay? Now, you can, if you're working with some specialty system, you can go online and find it and bring it in. People have created those, so if you're working with a specific client or that's using a specific manufacturer and they want that shown in their model, you can go to that manufacturer's website and download Revit families if they're used often enough that they have the ability to BIM out their fittings. They'll have those. But for us, we're just going to scroll down and go to pipes, or the pipe folder. We're going to go fittings, and we are going to go to, we should have, ooh, maybe we don't have it. Is copper in there? We don't have copper. Carbon steel. That's weird. That should be working. We can go generic. Generic is like not the best to use, but we can use it as far as what we're doing for this class. But I'd like to see if we had an actual copper in there. Let me just see here real quick. Yeah, we don't. We're not going to have that copper in there. Yeah. Dang. Okay, well, we're using generic fittings. So typically, the reason so if you go to the generic folder and you click on the first one, go down to the bottom one and hit a shift. So hit shift and click. It will allow you to select all of them and hit open. That will allow you to load them all in at once. Now, the reason we don't do a generic is because in Revit, a generic fitting will look something like this. And Revit is going to show that as my 90 degree. If I have a 24-inch diameter, your offsets distance, because if not, I plan on, let's say, 2-inch offset, you can't create that. So you go out in the field, you see two pipes at, let's say, 12 foot and 12 foot 2. In the BIM, you can't just go my 90 degree. If I have a 24-inch diameter, an actual, like, let's say I have a ISO, I can create a fitting. So if I come off one elbow to just a generic standard elbow, okay? And on the sizes, we're going to go all and all. Okay, so minimum size all. And it should give us a max size. Yeah. So let's just go minimum a quarter, max on 12 inches. Or we really should do minimum at a ½ inch, because that's what our pipe segment is. So ½ inch, ½ inch. Okay. Does that make sense what I did there? I selected my elbow, what I want it to be. It's a generic standard. We're going to go ½ inch to 12 inch. So routing type T, okay. This is preferred junction type. Does anybody know the difference between a T and a tap?
A tap is white lines, isn't it?
So tap is basically, so T you have, it look like this, right? Out of your T fitting. A tap is usually you'll have your pipe, come in here, pipe in here, right? Usually a tap, they can be fairly big, but usually it's right on the actual line itself. So it almost looks, you have so if I were drawing a section cut of my pipe, this would be my pipe, and I'd have just a little piece that just kind of comes in the pipe. It's not a fitting, or this is a fitting, but it taps into your actual pipe. And what it allows you to do is just get tighter groupings together. Usually it's on like steel pipe, because they can they'll take the actual steel, they'll cut it with a welder, and they'll just throw this, it's called a nipple, they'll throw that inside of it and then weld around it again. It's cheaper, but it still gets the same point across. My type is a T, right? But for my junction, I have to change this to a T. So we're going to go T generic standard, right? And then we're going to change our systems to a ½ inch, 12 inch, our cross, generic cross. I hate doing, actually, let's do none. We're going to do none on cross. Why would I have you guys do none on a cross? So everybody knows what a cross is and as well at the same time, right? So I've never seen it, so we're just going to hit none. Okay, transitions, drop down, just a generic transition from a 12 inch all the way to 12 inch. Transition is just when I go from one size to another. That's the piece it's going to put in, right? And another thing, again, in Revit, it puts in a little transition piece that's like that big, right? But usually, I mean, it's, you have a piece of pipe coming here, comes out, and slowly in. We'll just do coupling generic, ½ inch to 12 inch flange. There's not going to be any flanges. We're not going to do any caps, okay? Now, this is going to allow you to, as soon as you start modeling, you can just start dragging your cursor around and it'll put all these things in for you. If not, you have to go piece by piece, fitting by fitting. You have to draw your pipe, then go grab your fitting, put it on the pipe, rotate it to where it needs to be, put another piece of pipe on. This allows you to just go and we'll put things in as it goes, right? So everybody go ahead and hit OK and hit OK. Now the hard part, so if you notice, I'll come in here and I'll just draw just for demonstration. Right. Okay, and it should not do it here, but we'll see if it does. It might. Yeah. This is a perfect example. So create our one, and I drew a pipe up and it automatically put an elbow in, put the next piece of pipe up, right? Now, if you notice, and I'll show you that as these commands, so don't worry about these quite yet. We'll get into that next week. But if I come in here to try to bring a pipe up, I'm not going to do this. You haven't told me what I can and can't do here. Okay. And if you do not have this set up by next time, I will just tell you right now, you will fall behind in this class, and I'm not going to take